gravely ill, Violet's husband suddenly goes missing.
Dear Lord, we ask that you watch over this family in this sad time, oh Lord.
So her extended family arrives to help search for him.
You don't eat meat of any kind?
When you eat meat, you ingest an animal's fear.
Ingest what? Its fur?
But old wounds resurface and challenge their bonds in August, Osage County.
Hi, I'm Aaron.
I'm Rachel.
And I'm Kevin, and we're here today to talk about August, Osage County. We've all just seen it. Aaron, take it away.
It's adapted by Tracy Letts, who also wrote the source material. It's a Pulitzer Prize-winning play. Tracy Letts has written other plays that have been adapted into films like Bug and Killer Joe. This is a familial drama. Everybody's getting together to commemorate the life of somebody who has died. And then there's drama because the family is just not functional.
They're closeted.
Yeah, they're a dysfunctional
talk about their
family.
issues.
It's very clear that they don't talk about their issues. Not to mention that they have a pretty despicable matriarch leading the family.
Most of the people in this movie are pretty despicable.
Yeah.
It almost feels like a Tennessee Williams play in a way. It's got this like very old-fashioned classical feel that is...
It feels like a play. It feels like a play for adults about a familial dysfunction.
Which was my problem. Now, I actually saw the play, and it felt like a greatest hits version of the play, because the play is 3 hours long with 2 intermissions. So it was really long, and this was 2 hours.
So it had to be a
So it
greatest
just felt
hits
like they were
version.
kind of going one to one to one. It feels like you said, you're watching a play. They move into another location, and then they talk for 10 minutes, and then they move to another location,
Yeah,
and they
I
talk
thought,
for 10 minutes.
I mean, I was worried about that, especially in the very beginning. It starts out with almost what seems like a monologue.
Yeah.
And then the camera angle shifts, and you realize, okay, it's a little more clever than that. And so from that first moment, I was worried that this might feel too stagey, but I thought, partly because the writer is the same writer of the play, I thought it did do pretty well at being adapted into a film.
Only a couple times did it really waver. I noticed, the dinner scene, when they all sit down to have a meal. It's very clear that this is a scene out of a play.
I mean, that's the thing, is that scene is the centerpiece of the entire play.
Oh, yeah.
But I didn't feel that with this movie, and it's also hilarious when you see it.
I thought
this was just disturbing.
You ever been married before?
Yes, ma'am, I have.
More than once?
3 times, actually. 3 times before this.
Should pretty well have it down by now, then.
Right.
Yeah, I had that one pegged, didn't I? I mean, you look at him. You can tell he's been married.
So we should talk about Meryl Streep, who is the matriarch of the film. Personally, I like Meryl Streep, and I think she's a fantastic actress, clearly. I felt she was a little acty here. With Iron Lady, for example, she really immersed herself into that character. And here, I always felt like I'm seeing Meryl Streep acting. She's got the little wig on, and she's, doing kind of these clever little mannerisms.
She's got a lot going on, so you have a very big character. So when you're trying to portray someone that big, it's hard to really do a naturalistic job.
Right.
So I feel like most of the time she does hit her mark, but sometimes it does just go over a little bit into what would probably work perfectly on stage.
Right.
And maybe is a tiny bit too big for film.
The highest point of drama was when Meryl Streep's character basically explained how hard her life was and how everything she did to them wasn't nearly as bad as what she had done to her. She's so stuck in her ways, and it's about these generational gaps, and it was fascinating.
Well, I have an Indian in my house.
You have a problem with Indians, Violet?
I don't know what to say to an Indian.
They're called Native Americans, Mom.
Who makes that decision?
It's what they like to be called.
They aren't any more native than me.
In fact, they are.
What's wrong with Indians?
Why can't you just call people what they want to be called?
Let's just call the dinosaurs Native Americans while we're at it.
Well, there's solid direction from John Wells, too, our director. I liked it a lot. There's good angles. There's lots of long takes.
He did a fantastic job here, especially working with all these A-listers.
I had a problem with tone. The tone seemed to be like, I don't know if I'm going to try to be wacky or we're trying to be really hard hitting. And the dinner scene ended up being like, you can see by the studio that the poster is a still from that scene.
Yeah,
with her.
she's on the ground.
And it's like this isn't a wacky comedy. That was a terrible. That was really a hard hitting scene.
That was
so
a bad
I don't
call on the
understand.
marketing, though.
But I feel like the director didn't quite know the tone either, because there's a lot of stuff that seemed to be like it was supposed to be funny, but it just didn't play on screen because it looked too grim and realistic.
Why don't you wear makeup?
Do I need makeup?
Every woman needs makeup.
Don't let anybody tell you different. The only woman pretty enough to go without makeup was Elizabeth Taylor, and she wore a ton.
I don't know. I mean, if you're looking to compare this movie to something like Steel Magnolias, yeah, the tones are different, and maybe John Wells didn't do the right thing with the tone, but the tone worked fine for me. It's an equal amount of serious and funny. There's maybe a moment where you don't know.
I guess when it's switching over from
Yeah,
dramatic to
sometimes
comedic,
you don't
maybe
know
it's
how to
unclear.
feel.
But I did like the comedic parts. You know, I did think that the humor worked well. They have some ridiculous arguments, which I thought were quite funny.
I don't think it works as well on screen as it did on the stage, but for fans of the playwright and for the cast, I would say stream it.
This is a well-made drama that's going to get a lot of awards attention, and it already has. It's quite wonderful. I say see it.
This is not a new story, but it's very well told with an exceptional cast. See it.
So our votes add up to 2.5 tickets, which is a see it for August Osage County. Cheers.
Cheers. Who's gonna say something?
Holiday bloodletting brings your family closer together.
Yes, you have something to talk about at Christmas.